Hello everyone, and welcome to Culpeper Library, Read Across America. I am so excited to be here, to be able to take this trip across America with, what else, but books. And my book starts in the state of Virginia. So it is titled The Relatives Came by Cynthia Rylant. This is one of my favorite stories about relatives and traveling, because you know why? It's so true. The relatives came. Now, it was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia, and they left when their grapes were nearly purple, enough to pick, but not quite. There are a lot of grapes in Virginia, boys and girls. They had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop, and some boxes of crackers, and some bologna sandwiches, and up they came from Virginia. They left at 4 in the morning when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. Sounds to me like they're going on a long trip. They drove all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses in different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia, but they thought about us too, waiting for them. It's always exciting when you have family come to visit you. So they drank up all their pop and ate up all their crackers and traveled up those miles until finally they pulled into our yard. There you go. They're there. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car, pulling us up against their wrinkled Virginia clothes and crying sometimes. And they hugged us for hours. Huge, great hugs. Then it was into the house, and so much laughing and shiny faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 or 5 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front room. Those relatives. They are so happy. And finally, after a big supper, 2 or 3 times around, until we all got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk, and we were in 2s and 3s through the house. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good since there weren't any extras. So a few squeezed in with us, and the rest slept on the floor, some with their arms thrown over the closest person, and some with an arm across one person and a leg across another. It was different going to sleep with all that and new breathing in the house. Imagine that. Pretty crowded. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks, and they helped us tend the garden, and they fixed any broken thing that they could find. That's very helpful. They ate up all our strawberries and melons, and then promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. They're having a party now. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together. Busy, and fun. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chests and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our cars, into our beds. It felt too big and too quiet, and we fell asleep. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them, and they missed us. It's sad when you have to leave. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about next summer. You look at that whole mountain and their purple grapes. Now, boys and girls, this was a great book. And one thing we know about it is it started in Virginia, but they don't tell us where it ended up. So, because they were eating melons and watermelons, I thought maybe they traveled all the way from Virginia to New York. What do you think? Where would they have gone? I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you join us for Read Across America. Bye now.